Perfect. And there we go. Wonderful. Perfect. So welcome everybody. Just to give your full attention to our panelists and not be on your phones. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Anna, Jennifer, and Shannon. Perfect. So we'll begin. If you could please briefly describe your position and the organization you work for.
I'll go first. So I work at Nature Folk. It's a spot in downtown Dartmouth. I'm one of 3 co-owners. We opened in 2019, originally in a much smaller space, just 6 months before the pandemic hit. And after we were able to reopen, we really saw a big sort of leap in people wanting to get out of their house, but also take their wellness into their own hands. And we decided to expand. And so in August, we moved into a much larger space. And yeah, so we've been operating since August there.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Paquette, and not too long ago, I was sitting exactly where you were. I just graduated actually from the Mount in the tourism hospitality program in 2021. But right now, my job title is Vessel Operations Supervisor, as well as the Food and Beverage Manager for the vessels at Ambassatours Grey Line. It's on Cable Wharf, and some of you may or may not know the Ambassatours name. But they're the largest tour operator in Atlantic Canada. And just this season, we provided tours for 250,000 people here in Atlantic Canada. So it's quite a large operation. You might know the Harbor Hopper. You've probably seen them going around downtown, but there's also the Tall Ship Silva, the Kawartha, the Harbor Queen, motor coach tours, and the double-decker buses. So my job requires me to manage a team of about 30 servers and bartenders, making sure they have all the tools they need to succeed and execute our regularly scheduled public tours, as well as private events, which we had a lot this summer with weddings and corporate events not being able to run because of COVID the last 2 years. I also get to go on the tours regularly, so that's a fun perk of the job, and just evaluate them and see from how we can improve from an employee, but also our customer experience. I also receive all the reviews, so combined with my own evaluations, I get to go on and see, okay, how can we make informed investments to better improve our tours? I build relationships with musicians, suppliers, DJs, local breweries and wineries, and then, as you may, if you've read before we came here, what we're all up to. I'm also, I recently just started my own company, small tour company called Marguerite Weekends, where my partner and I host all-inclusive snowmobile weekends in the Cape Breton Highlands. So we piloted last winter, and then we're going to be doing 6 tours this season coming up.
And I am Jennifer Kurmey, and I work as sales manager at Muir Hotel in Halifax. For those of you who aren't aware of Muir, it is the newest hotel in the city and our only luxury hotel brand in the city. We're located in Queen's Mark, which is the new district in Halifax. You may be familiar with it, where we have the newest addition, which is Tidal Beacon, which is the tidal clock, which is that big, large section in Queen's Mark. It also has all of the freehand restaurants like Drift, Peacock, Cafe Lunette, and a few others that are starting to open up. My role there is as sales manager, so I'm in control of the Atlantic markets, which means that I work with all of the companies that are based in Atlantic Canada and make sure that I get their group business, which is based on events and food and beverage and guest rooms, as well as corporate sales, which is where we work on business travel and try and organize for people to have guest rooms and great rates to be able to stay with Muir.
Great. Thank you all so much. So we do have a few questions just specific to each of you. So we'll start with Anna. At Nature Folk, which if anyone hasn't been, I'm biased because I have been, but it's amazing. It's a beautiful spa. There's massage therapy, yoga classes, all of that. But we also see from your website that you offer retreats and special events. And we were wondering a little bit about what goes into planning these events.
Yes. So It's really nice the way our space is designed. Our movement studio is directly across from our circuit space, so the two can sort of work closely together. The retreats that we do are really specific to sort of depending on who reaches out to us and who's interested in collaborating, but also some of our practitioners who are on our team come to us with ideas. So it's kind of nice that it's a very collaborative approach to what we're offering in our space. It's also nice that it sort of fuses two of our services that we offer. So in terms of the planning for events, typically we'll talk about the concept for what the retreat will be. Will it just be in our movement studio, or will it sort of pour across the hall into our circuit space? Then we have to look sort of into the scheduling and see what we have room to fit for the retreat to fit it into the schedule. Another big thing is sort of capacity. So if it's going to be sort of a seated retreat versus something that's more focused on meditation, or are you laying out a yoga mat, because that sort of affects how many people can actually fit into the space. Then we sort of talk about the education piece and marketing and who is this retreat for. And then working on promotions. My background is in graphic design, so I manage the social media. And we sort of work with the different instructors on their platforms as well to sort of bring people into those retreats.
Great. And what has the uptake for these events been like numbers wise? And
It really, we find it depends on the instructor and sort of who they already have lined up for a retreat. Sometimes we've had people who have an idea, but not necessarily the audience. So it can be a struggle as a new business to bring people into those retreats. Some have been more popular than others, and typically it's the ones that do use the Nordic circuit because it's kind of like they're getting a little bit more out of the experience, I guess. And our capacity is also quite low because we do want it to be a very focused type of experience. So typically we have anywhere between 6 to 14 people coming to the retreats. Yeah.
thank you. Perfect. So moving on to Shannon, I know you already mentioned your own business a little bit, but we wanted to know what you've inspired you to start that business in Cape Breton, and also what's the biggest challenge you've faced since getting started?
Okay, well, the inspiration part, I think will play into when we talk about education and experience that led up to that. So I don't want to double answer, so I'll get back to that part later. So I'll just focus on right now, I guess, the biggest challenge that I've had. So the biggest challenge for me would be marketing. You know, we have these snowmobile weekends that are catered towards a pretty niche demographic, especially due to the price point and the location and the interest. And so we have built this product and it's a matter of getting it out to those specific people. And of course, starting out, we have a very small marketing budget. This has kind of been my, side hustle passion project. So not a lot of money to put into marketing efforts. So we use things like Facebook ads and Instagram ads, but very small scale, word of mouth. And luckily, because also our capacity for these tours are quite low, we only host 8 people at a time to keep it a really intimate experience. Being able to fill those spots is a little bit easier than if you're trying to fill 100 people on a tour or a 50 passenger motor coach. So last year we did our pilot tours and we were able to fill those. And luckily we've built some buzz around it and word of mouth, and feeling pretty confident about this year. But I think for future years to come, marketing and having money to invest in marketing will be crucial to the success of the business.
I'm curious, with it being, so small and also a challenge, outdoor activities and sports, whose would be kind of your target market, like your target audience? Would it be people within Nova Scotia or?
Yeah, so right now I would say our target is Nova Scotia. Primarily, it's interesting if you use, or if any of you have ever used Instagram ads, they allow you to narrow in on the demographics, so you can choose men or women and age groups and all different types of things. And what we're seeing is about 75% of them are coming from Nova Scotia, people that are viewing our posts. And from us, I think our demographic is around the 30 to 55-year-old, primarily couples and people that have a little bit more money to spend on an experience like that. But because of COVID, people are looking for more things to do within Halifax. Like I'm sure Jen would even say, like there's locals that just want to go and experience the Muir because it's such a beautiful place. Like people just want a night out and to go to the spa or to go to nature folk that are from here. And then because of the pandemic as well, it's kind of, we've had a shift of do we go travel abroad or do we go and experience our own province? So mostly locals.
Thank you. Perfect. And Jennifer, we know you have an extensive background in both restaurant management and hotels, and we're sort of wondering what skills you were able to transfer from those roles to your current position at the Muir.
Sure. So as I said, I do sales at the hotel, and in order to be able to be a great sales manager, the best thing is to have a lot of know-how in pretty much everything. So when it comes to my background, I've been about 20 years in the hospitality industry, and I have worked almost every position you can work when it comes to food and beverage. I've been a server, I've been a banquets captain, I've been a restaurant manager, conference services manager, which is event planning. So, I've gotten my hands into everything that has to do with the hotel industry, and learned how it works in every operation, so that being a salesperson, I'm thinking like every other department. So I ask the right questions, I make sure that things fit, and I make sure that it works out for the entire hotel to be able to provide the best experience. So I think knowing a little bit of everything is kind of the skills that I've been able to add.
Wonderful. Thank you. Perfect. So we want to talk a little bit about your experience, your education, and how it's led to your current position.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, my background is in graphic design. I actually went to NASCAD and graduated with a degree in graphic design and actually worked in the field for a while for a firm. During that time, sort of working the 9 to 5, I realized there's something that was lacking for me. Within my design interest, I've always been really interested in how a brand can really sort of add value to a business, and the way it's executed can really affect people's view and relationship with your business. So that's sort of how I decided I wanted to get into owning a business, and also just meeting the right people. Originally, I had one business partner, and we actually met serving, and just sort of talked about the lack of, and wanted to sort of bring this sort of urban spa experience to Halifax and Nova Scotia that's not pretentious, doesn't feel too corporate, and just feels really welcoming, sort of like the Nova Scotia personality, I guess. And I come from Montreal, where these Nordic spas are sort of a dime a dozen. There's so many different types of them, and it was just something that we saw that was lacking. So her background is in spa management. So we sort of just came together to create a brand and a business that's really design focused, both from a brand perspective, but also like materials and how that links into sort of the essence of what we want Nature Folk to stand for. And yeah, it's just been sort of really insightful to see how design has sort of come into handy with, like social media, and so much of the things people interact with is from a digital interface, I guess. So it's been really great having the skills in-house to sort of, if we need a website update or, manage a newsletter, you don't have to go through a third party. It's been really great just sort of being able to take it into my own hands and work closely with my business partners and stuff.
All right, so originally, just going from education experience, I went to Dalhousie University straight out of high school. Was going for a bachelor degree in science, and after about 2 years, I made the decision to drop out. Not because I was flunking out, but just because I wasn't engaged, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and it didn't seem like it was the right path for me. So I shocked my parents and I said, I'm quitting. And then I started working in the hospitality industry in Halifax and saving money. And I decided I really wanted to go travel. I came from a small little town in Cape Breton, and I just needed some more exposure and get out and see the world. So I spent about 3.5 years backpacking, living in the Netherlands, traveling around Europe and Asia. And I actually almost started pursuing working on super yachts, like if you've ever seen the show Below Deck, doing something along those lines. But then I made the decision, okay, do I go back to school? And I found the program, the tourism and hospitality program at the Mount. And I looked into the co-op route and I said, okay, like this seems like a really good experience. So I dove in and I absolutely loved it. In my co-op experience, I worked with Atlantic Tours. So as a tour director there and hosting 12-day tours through the Atlantic provinces it was just me, a driver and 55 seniors for 12 days. So it was really a great experience. It was very difficult, but it was great money also for a summer job. Definitely look up Atlantic Tours if you're interested. But so through that, that's where the idea of wanting to have my own company came from, because I loved being a host and I love being the one being able to share these experiences with the guests. And it was like I had 50 adopted grandparents for 2 weeks, but I wanted more say over the places that we were going and what we were doing, because it was all laid out for me and I just had to keep us on schedule. And I thought, okay, what a great opportunity that we could have here to tap into something a little bit different and be able to run the show myself. So that's where that idea came from. And then as for working at Ambassatours, which is my current full-time role, that was just me happening to reach out to the CEO, Dennis Campbell, and looking for some mentorship. And I reached out to him last summer and we went for lunch, and then he ended up offering me a position with the company. So always, well, we'll talk about it later, but the importance of networking is huge in this industry. So make a good impression at every job that you have, because you never know how, even if it's just a summer gig, how that person can help you down the road with bigger opportunities. So.
Perfect. Yeah. I guess in my role, as a lot of people, when they get into the hospitality industry, I wanted to be a wedding planner, which I have since decided I do not want to be a wedding planner. But in that, doing that, as I mentioned, I've kind of worked in every job that there is when it comes to food and beverage in order to get there. But my current role at Muir, which, as I mentioned, is really the first luxury hotel in Halifax. I was able to gain a lot of experience working for luxury hotels. So I worked for Four Seasons Hotel in Toronto and was able to open their signature property there. I also worked out in Jasper for Fairmont. So one of the things I would say is being able to get out and try different properties, move to different cities and experience those things is something that really helped me in order to understand especially how luxury works. I've also built a lot of connections in the community, as Shannon was saying. In a sales role, you really need to get to know people and you need to be able to have those conversations and make relationships. And in my previous role, I worked as a restaurant sales manager. So I did all of the events for a restaurant company and business development. And I was at every single event possible in the city, getting to know people, putting my name out there, inviting them back to the restaurants, and just, getting to know that. And that helped me when I was moving into this role, because I found out about my position before it was even posted, because a friend of mine also worked there, put in my name and suggested me and told me to get my name out before they even put it up on the website. So as Shannon said, who you know and the way you present yourself to those people will really help you in the end. And of course, as with Shannon, I also was in your seat very recently. I actually just graduated from the Mount with my tourism and hospitality degree this month, I guess October. So I went back to school when COVID hit and my industry was in shambles. And instead of getting out of the tourism industry, I decided to increase my education, which I think only benefits me more when I was looking for this job, that I had that piece of paper and that I had that degree.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Next up, we were wondering what you like the most about your role and your current position and what you dislike or will say find the most challenging about it.
I really love that we can collaborate really well with not just our staff, but there's so much interaction that we have with our clients. It's just really nice when we have those like people coming back and just sort of we're able to build relationships outside of just like our bubble of employees, which is really rewarding. In terms of the most challenging thing, I'd say, I mean, our business is 3 months old, so there are incredible amounts of challenges when you're first opening a business. You know, you're trying to work on marketing, sort of like what Shannon said, with very tight budgets. Things break, you have to fix them. So I guess that's been sort of the most consuming challenge, is sort of day-to-day operations and things that are out of our hands, I guess. And then sort of the cycle of trying to fix them before it starts impacting someone's experience with us.
I would say the most challenging part about probably every tourism and hospitality job that you're going to find is that you have to be on all the time. And yeah, that can be very exhausting. So that would be the biggest challenge. But in order to get through that, you just have to develop, or you work for a place that develops it, the team culture, like we're all in this together. And then at the end of the day, you also have to realize like you get to create these amazing experiences for people. And they may have been saving for a year or multiple years to take their family on the harbor hopper, or to come out and come to Nova Scotia and get to go on a 3-mast schooner, the Tall Ship Silva. And so when you remember that and you get that face-to-face interaction with guests and they have a wonderful time, it makes it all worth it in the end. And so just being able to know that like you may have done 12 harbor hopper tours and guided them today, but you just made so many memories for so many people. That's what's really exciting about it. And the other thing that I love with my company, even though it's such a large company, it also has a small business mentality in that they're always looking for ways to improve, and we don't have to be totally rigid in our operations. If any of our frontline staff have suggestions, we table it and collaborate and try to find ways to implement that right away if it's going to make it everyone's day a lot smoother and make the guest experience better. So.
Well, I mean, as with the others, I think anyone who works in this industry, it's the people. Being able to build new relationships and always socialize. It's a lot of fun to be in the tourism industry. The hours are long, but they're worth it. And I mean, everybody's in it together and you feel like more of a team. So I think that's, you know, there's not a lot of dislike when it comes to that, because you learn how to do it. Just make sure you get really good shoes. Challenge in my current role is determining the best business. You know, as a salesperson, you want to just take everything on. You have sales goals and you have certain things you have to meet. And sometimes, especially working with a product like ours, you really need to determine what business is the best and to be able to let business go that doesn't really suit you. And sometimes that can be really difficult, but you know, having a challenge is the best part of a job. If you're not challenged, you shouldn't be doing that job anymore.
I think it's super special how you all mentioned the people and making those experiences and those memories. I'm just going to loop to one of our questions that really branches off of that, which is essentially what keeps you going to work every day? And more so, please give us an example of a time that made your day within your industry.
For me, it's the complexity of what I'm able to do every day, no day looks the same for me. And that really keeps me going. It really keeps me inspired. It keeps me sort of pushing myself. It's just, like I mentioned earlier, the 9 to 5 sort of sitting at a desk all day just really wasn't suiting me. And it really encouraged me to find something that does work, because there's so much out there that is going to be the right fit. So definitely just the fact that every day is so different, challenges and wins included. I'm trying to think of like one thing that has really stood out to me. And I think I don't know, it's just sort of a collective of just, the sort of back to the people, the relationships you build. It is, as a business owner, it's really hard to step back and look at what you've accomplished, but sort of seeing how other people are enjoying what you've created is really sort of, I guess, what stands out.
I saw on Instagram that you guys were able to partner with a few other local businesses in Dartmouth to do sort of a giveaway, which I thought was really cool, like branching off sort of the community and connection.
Yeah, that's been a really great aspect of owning a business or working in business, especially in a community like Halifax, Dartmouth. Everyone is so encouraging. It's not really that sort of mentality where it's like us and them. It's really like us all together, and how can we build this community up? The support for local, and just being able to connect with other businesses and sort of relate to their experiences and work together for giveaways and help promote each other is, just really another great part of it all.
I would say for me, for one, it's the location. I don't know if any of you have been down to where I work. I work at Cable Wharf, right beside Jen at the Muir Hotel in Queen's Mark. So the location being on the waterfront is amazing, and it doesn't get old. I think we have one of the nicest waterfronts in Canada. So just being there, of course, the team and seeing all the people and the ability to try to make each day a little bit better than yesterday keeps me motivated. And then also, I guess just a cute thing that happened this summer for me is I was helping in the Harbor Hopper lot and dispatching some of the tours. And I happened to see 2 guests that called out to me who I had guided in 2018 when I was on my first co-op with Atlantic Tours. And they remembered me and their tour, and we got pictures together, and they sent them to their children, and they showed me their pictures that they had when I was dressed up as a tour guide. I think I had an Anna Green Gables costume on when we were in PEI. But so it's just neat to see the impact that you can have on people's lives. And that was like 4 years ago, and they're back here again because they had such a wonderful time. So that was pretty special.
That's amazing. And I think within the tourism and hospitality industry, that concept of like return guests, they're going back. They had such a good time before.
I mean, as we've all kind of said, it's the people, but I think one of the coolest things about working in the tourism industry is that you meet people from everywhere, from all over the globe, and you end up having friends and connections everywhere. So I have friends in South Africa that I went to their wedding. I have friends in Ireland that I've gone to visit, as well as London, England. I mean, the longer you're in the industry, the more you're around different people, and we're all about making connections in this industry, and you make these friendships that last forever. And I don't think there's no other industry like ours. It's like a family. It's not like a job.
Specifically at the Muir, with it being so new and so like luxurious, are you noticing that you're getting to meet more people that might not have come to Halifax because there wasn't such a amazing place to stay? Or
I really believe that Queen's Mark and Muir have made a huge difference in Halifax. One thing that we talked about this morning in our morning meeting at work is just really cool, is that we were just featured in Condé Nast, which is a luxury hospitality magazine. This is one of the first times that Halifax as a city has been named in this magazine. And I think Muir and Queen's Mark has really changed the landscape of Halifax and really helped us to make it a place where people want to go and try. And I think, you know, we're going to start to see a lot more people coming through and Halifax becoming that much more of an important city to Canada.
That's amazing. Thank you. Turning to the audience, how many people are specifically tourism and hospitality students? Yeah, perfect. Great. We are wondering, what do you think is the most important skills that people need upon graduation to find a job in tourism and hospitality management? Whoever would like to start.
Okay, I'll start because I thought about this one and like I said, was sitting in your shoes not too long ago, and we have a similar message across the whole industry. And so people will tell you, you know, you need to be a people person, you need to be outgoing. And yes, all those things are true, but I think there's a few other skills that are important. One of them is empathy, which I already kind of mentioned before, but just being able to always put yourselves in the customer's shoes and think about their experience. The other one would be awareness. So whether it's, you know, you've seen somebody drop something or there's a wrapper on the ground, or awareness from a safety perspective, being able to notice that right away and flag it before someone gets hurt. So having empathy, awareness, and then being students, you probably already have research skills, but continuously being a student, always looking for what are other people doing, who are the best suppliers to work with. Like Jen said, what business should we be doing business with, or, you know, what people we should be doing business with, what are the what are the best practices, so you can always be improving. So those would be my 3 skills to have.
I'll just kind of add to that is, you know, adaptability, sort of same as Shannon, and every person's different. You all know that. But the way you work with a guest, or if we, you know, even in any kind of industry, you need to be able to adapt to the way the person is, to how they react, to what their wants and needs are. If you deal with every person on the same level, you're not always going to get what you need. So you need to be able to learn what it is that they work with and adapt to that. And understanding that your job is not the most important job. And, you know, that's with probably any industry, but even more so in hospitality and tourism. A hotel, a restaurant, a tour company, you know, they can't survive without everybody working together. So, you know, if you see, like you say, you see a piece of paper on the floor, don't think that's the housekeeper's job. Pick it up. If you notice that they're getting slammed at the front desk, you know, ask someone who may be able to jump in and help out. It's making sure that everything flows properly so that you create the best experience for your guest.
I was just going to expand on the adaptability of not even just people, but environment and, you know, social context with COVID and everything. Like, it's easy to sort of feel discouraged if there's a roadblock or a really big social change, and just, sort of being adaptable and having those problem solving skills. Like I sort of mentioned, you know, being in a new business and having something break and being able to sort of find a workaround so that it's not hindering someone to have like the best experience with you.
Thank you. And something that students were wondering earlier was about any roles or positions available within your organizations that are specifically maybe for new grads, or you do summer hiring or anything like that, considering we do have so many specific business and tourism students in the room.
As a small business, we don't have that many openings yet, and we haven't had an opportunity to work with students, but it's definitely something we talk about as we're sort of growing into this new business. And the positions that we would be sort of looking for would, be sort of customer facing or sort of more on the marketing design side of things.
For Ambassatours, we're always looking for people. So Ambassatours is a seasonal business, and we hire about 200 seasonal employees, typically in the end of April, and that's going to our season just wrapped up or is wrapping up in a few days. And then, of course, there are opportunities through the winter too. They're always interested in co-op students and graduating students, like I was last year. And there are a lot of entry level jobs available. The thing that I think is so interesting with Ambassatours is that you don't necessarily all need to be people, you know. There's jobs in marketing, and there's sales, and there's private events and event planning. There is the operations side of things, there's finance. So there's many different areas. It's not just tour guides and servers that they're looking for. So it's kind of neat. And it's also great because you don't need to know what you want to do when you go to a place like that, when we try to find the best fit for people. So you're not pigeonholed into going down one path. Like we have many frontline supervisors who also decided, oh, well, I want to go try out harbor hopper guiding. And so they go and do that. Or maybe they started on reservations, but then they want to go work on the boats and now they're doing deckhand position. Or people can constantly rotate between where it is such a large company and there's so many different opportunities to gain experience and find what it is that you want to do. So if you're looking for a co-op or if you're interested, definitely come talk to me after.
And I have to brag a little bit because right now in the hospitality industry, hotels especially, and restaurants, there's still a huge need for staff. Many of the hotels and restaurants in the city are just craving to have people who are eager and excited to get going. We just filled our final position at Muir recently, which is fabulous, and just shows what a great place it is to work. We don't lose a lot of staff often. And when positions do come up, we really try and find the best for those. So I would say if you're looking, just keep your eye out for positions that come up at Muir, because it is such a fabulous hotel to work for that, you know, it's worth getting your foot in the door and seeing when things come up. But yes, there's definitely lots of roles out there right now if you're looking.
Perfect. Thank you. And students are wondering earlier as well about with the focus in any industry, especially post-pandemic, on wellness, self-care, work-life balance. Is there anything specific that you either do in your personal life or your organization promotes to kind of keep that work-life balance? Maybe it's benefits, perks, things like that.
Well, being a business owner, it's very challenging to find balance, but we do offer benefits for all of our full-time employees. Working at Nature Folk, you also do get some nice perks, having sort of the spa facilities. You can use our infrared saunas and our circuit for free, and there's a discount if you bring a +1 and things like that. But personally, it is challenging to draw the line and, you know, practice what you're preaching, I guess.
Well, for me in my role, we are a seasonal business, but then the business continues and we work on the previous year and the next year over the winter. And so now I'm transitioning into the work from home lifestyle, which is going to be a welcome break from being full on all summer long. So I think just having that balance between go, and then, okay, now we can ease up a little bit and work from home. So all of the full-time employees will now be transitioning into work from home. Perks of the job that make the job a little sweeter, definitely that all employees, whether you're seasonal or full-time, get to go and experience any of the tours for free, and they can bring friends based on availability. But it's really great to see all of our staff out on tours pretty much daily and wanting to bring them when their family comes and visits or their friends are in, and it's a great opportunity for them to showcase, okay, this is what we do here. And so that's a lot of fun. And then we also have all full-time employees have benefits, and they implemented where you can use a few $100s to get, if it's signing up for a marathon or gym membership and things like that. So different perks that they're able to offer being such a large company.
I think the best thing on my end is that Muir is part of Marriott, which is fabulous because you have access to all of the Marriott hotels all over the globe, which is about, I believe, 8,000 different hotels, where you can get great rates and be able to stay and enjoy that and pass those rates on to your friends and family. So it, it encourages you to get out and travel and see more of the world, and even see your own backyard. I mean, I can go stay at any of the hotels in this city pretty much because most of them are Marriott's, and get a really good rate and just be able to stay down and enjoy the city. So I think that's how we really focus that. We get a discount for all of the freehand properties, restaurants in the Queen's Mark district, and yeah, I mean, we're really encouraged to get out and take our time, and we are told to take our full vacation every year, which I think is something that's, you may think that's difficult, but it's really nice to have a company that wants you to be out there and using your vacation and taking those breaks, because it's really important to do it, especially in this industry.
Thank you. I'm just going to take a pause on the questions for myself because I want to make sure we can have some time for questions from the room, and I would love to hear from everybody. Does anyone have any questions from our panelists? It could be just for one person specific. I'm just going to bring the mic to you so that people online can hear.
Hi, I'm Heaven. So I have a question for Shannon. As you must have noticed, I did that in between. Did you said you did a degree from Hairmount? Was it a diploma degree or a bachelor's degree?
It was the 4-year degree program through the co-op with co-op.
Okay, and what was your position while traveling? Like you said you were working while traveling in the Netherlands and all.
So I was just serving and bartending and making quick money so I could go and keep traveling.
Okay, thank you.
Did anyone have? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jay. I had a question for Jennifer. I actually work at the Muir too. I just started recently. And my only question is, how would you go about, let's say you're starting off like base customer service. How would you go about growing with the business to get into a position like where you are right now?
Yeah, and welcome to the team. We are always happy to have new people. I would say, like I said, just learning all different aspects. It's really putting yourself out there is a huge thing when it comes to customer service, and being able to build up a stronger confidence when you're out in the world. When I started at my previous role as a salesperson, I didn't really know anybody in the city. And I had to force myself to walk up to people that I didn't know and say, "Hi, I'm Jen. What do you do? Where are you from? What's your name?" It's really scary. It's really scary to walk up to people that you don't know. But finding a friend who knows other people, or doing that really helps. And the more you talk to more people and the more you get yourself out there, I think your confidence builds up and your skills build up at the same time, and you just keep working your way up until you get there.
Thank you.
Does being noticed work? Like I work as a server, and I just started working like few months ago, and like I feel like in these few months, like 8 months, I have got like experience of serving, and I feel like in upcoming months, or maybe like 6 months or a year, I would like to be promoted to a next position, so that eventually I can lead to a management post. So like I feel like people are at work are noticing me. So will that help in like maybe promotion or something?
Definitely. I mean, don't worry about the timing. I think it's something that we're always thinking, how do we get to the next step? How do we get there? How do I get to be a manager? And it's sometimes good to just take your time. And as I said, get to know people. You're putting yourself out there already. You're doing a great job in what you're doing, and people will notice. And as things come along, that'll be the people they look at, is the ones that are really, asking the questions, asking what you can do, accepting constructive feedback. I mean, that's the hardest thing, is being able to, have someone say you're not doing that right and not take offense to it, being able to go, okay, but now what do I need to do to get to that next step? So just keep your mind open on all those times, and you'll get there.
Also, you said to wear good shoes, you mentioned in between. So, like, does the dress up and in a professional way, if we perform and dress up in a professional way, does that really work?
Absolutely. I mean, you want to put yourself out there as the most professional that you can be, regardless. I mean, dress for success all the time. You can't overdress. If you show up at an interview with a blazer on, no one's going to say, oh my gosh, she dressed up too much and wore a blazer. But if you show up with jeans on, someone might say, they wore jeans, they're not serious. So, always look at that. But when I say wear good shoes, I mean comfortable shoes. That's going to save you in the end. Go and get a pair of Clarks or something like that actually cushions your feet, because you'll need it.
So you said you did every position. You were a server, you did every position. How long did it take for you to reach here?
Well, I've been in the industry for almost 20 years. But it takes time, and you just need to realize that if you're working towards that goal and letting people know, and then you're good. And I'm sure these two can say the same thing.
Yeah. I'll come back to you when I have more questions.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? No?
I guess I'll just say something that played off of what Jen had said about the importance of putting yourself out there and saying, it can be nerve wracking. And someone once said to me, to be interesting, be interested. And so you don't need to necessarily know what to say, but people love talking about themselves. So if you just get in front of them and ask them questions, the conversation is going to get rolling. And I don't know how many of you are graduating this year. So we still have a little bit of time, and some are getting ready to move on into the workforce. But my experience anyways at the Mount was that there are a lot of opportunities, like those of you that are in tourism. If you've met with SCAL yet, SCAL, this is actually the president of SCAL, and Paulette, your professor, Paulette Kurmey over there, she's also a member of SCAL. And so they have different opportunities where you can go and meet tourism professionals here at the school. And so take advantage of that, because I went to one and I shook a hand and I got a job. So just things like that, they set you up for success, and you just got to go. And same with like the Learners and Leaders Conference is a really great way to meet different professionals and get one-on-one time to ask questions and make connections and things like this panel. So you're already doing those things. You already showed up today. So that's amazing. You can check you're doing the right things. But yeah, just don't be shy to go up to people. Just start asking questions. You don't need to have it all figured out or have the best opening line.
Yeah, so my question was that, as you say, there's a need of workers in the industry, but how do you manage that when there are 2-3 months in the cold season where there is no work and most of the workers get laid off? So how does that work, that there's an industry where they need lots of workers for a time being, but then after a while you have just abandoned them and just let them run off the street on their own? So how does that work, that you were asking for something, but there was time there you just don't want them? So how does industry work with that? This is a tough question. I asked to a lot of people.
I mean, I think a lot of the seasonal jobs in Halifax can be quite seasonal. The city is changing. We are starting to get more people seeing Halifax as a year-round destination, which is great. When it comes to restaurants, there are a lot of restaurants that still, do very well throughout the entire year. So, that's a great thing. Look for a place that is working all year round. And the seasonal jobs are great for students. They're great because you can work your tail off for 3 months, put a whole bunch of money in your pocket from tips and such, and then be able to take the time off during your school time to be able to really focus on your studies and do really well in your grades.
But if we think of job security, how does that work? Because that's also a part, right? Job security, that there will be time when you just don't have and you have to find something else. but then there are times when you don't find something else. So job security also is an issue for someone from a not the industry to step into this industry. So any suggestions for that?
I will jump in again there just because it's before COVID, the tourism industry was probably the safest industry to be in for job security. We didn't lose our jobs ever. And then, COVID obviously took a bit of a turn, but we're now learning to adapt with it. We're now learning to grow with COVID. And I think it'll be just as if I would like to believe that it'll be just like living with the flu and the cold, that you stay home and things don't shut down again. I don't see job security as being an issue in this industry. If you find a place that is a year-round operation, it's not gonna go down. And you may have a little bit lower hours in the winter, but believe me, if you're working as a server in the summer here, you're going to appreciate having that downtime, because you will be working a lot in the summer, and it's worth it. And you work in the right place, you can really pocket that money, and as long as you save properly, you're not going to need to work all the time.
I'm sorry. Like you said that we can find a place that works all year round, but like if everybody's gonna find that one place, like obviously they will not actually employ everybody. They will have a certain number of people, like vacancies. So what about the other people? Like not everybody can get a job at one place.
So just to play off what Jen said, so with my company, Ambassatours, or the company I work for, not my company, the company I work for, COVID and the pandemic really had a huge impact on them, something that they had never seen before. And they did go down to a quote unquote skeleton crew in order to survive in those 2 years. And unfortunately, a lot of people were laid off, and a lot of the full-time, which would have been year-round positions, did become seasonal. And now they just had their best year ever. And they were actually, 15% ahead of 2019, which was the best year ever. And so as we continue to move in this direction, a lot of those full-time positions will be coming back, and there will be a lot less of the seasonality of the business. There's always going to be seasonality, and that those jobs are geared towards, students and people looking for that, but people who are graduating that are looking for full-time job security, there's going to be more room for that coming forward. Not one company can take in everybody, of course. And so there has to be a little bit of flexibility, and it's not uncommon now for people to have 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or like myself, I have a full-time job and I have my side hustle passion project. We all have different things going on. And I think that just careers in general have changed, where you don't work in one job full-time for 25 years, climbing the ladder. Like we're more flexible, and we want to have different opportunities and learn different things. So I think it would be just a matter of trying, like seeing what opportunities are out there, and then you compensate with something else that you're interested in as well, and try to make it work the best you can for you.
And
I was just gonna
sorry.
add on to that, sort of oftentimes in companies too, they work hard to train you, and if you're doing a good job, they don't want to lose you. I know of people who sort of move laterally within companies when their department's a little slower. They sort of you get to expand on your skill set and, explore new challenges if you are sort of moved into a different business. Or there are some even like seasonal restaurants in Halifax that I know are part of bigger companies, and the servers and staff sort of move around from business to business, sort of building more connections and seeing it as an opportunity.
And there are lots of places looking for jobs, and my advice would be the best candidate, and by doing that, research the company you're having an interview with, know a little bit about them, understand how you can contribute to it, because if you show that you're really interested and that you're that right person, it's going to go a long way with getting those full-time jobs that are available.
Also, there is this new the limits are taken off from the international students, that they can work full time from 15th of November till 31st December next year. Will you be hiring those students? Those are like maybe first year or second year students, probably third, as a full time workers, because they are allowed to work full time.
Yeah, we have a number of international students who have come to work with us in the summer, and they were very excited when that got lifted. So I do this, like I said, I manage 30 servers and bartenders and do all their scheduling, and had those limitations of they can't work any more than 16 or 20 hours. Dependent on their situation. And now they're like, we're looking for full time. I said, okay, perfect. We need you. So they're going to be, moving into full-time hours.
But like in the winters, you said there is not much work. What about that?
So Ambassatours also owns Cable Wharf Kitchen and Patio. It was once known as Murphy's, if you had ever heard of Murphy's, and now they did a beautiful renovation down there, and it's a 300-person seated restaurant, which is also doing a number of private events all winter long. Coming up, we're entering into Christmas party season, so it's booked pretty much every night, and so there's lots of work going into the winter seasons.
Jennifer, same for.
It's, as I say, I think it's, if you show that you're the best candidate, if you work hard and you have that passion and you're excited about the company and you're willing to work, no one is going to turn you down from working. I mean, it's a matter of, just working really hard and you'll get the hours. I think it's, there's a lot of work out there, and it's, people who want to work are going to be working.
Thank you.
This is a question to Jennifer. How would you describe your daily schedule as a sales manager at a hotel?
Very busy. My job is partially working on building proposals and trying to gain new business. It's also entertaining. I'm having breakfast with people. I'm having lunch with people. I'm going to events at night. My job is not just to take inquiries from people and book things in. It takes a lot of strategy, a lot of conversation to make sure we're getting the right business, and going through there, and networking a lot.
Thank you. Just looping back, Shannon, you had mentioned the organization Skull. I'm not familiar with that. Are you able to let our students know what that is?
Paulette, you want to come take the mic? Or Jen? Maybe Jen would be better. She's the president of our Halifax club.
So Skull Halifax International. So Skull International is an international tourism and hospitality networking group. So we have chapters all over the world, and it's basically a group of the kind of top executives in all of the hospitality, GMs of hotels, owners of restaurants, owner of hospitality tour companies, who all get together once a month and do business with friends is kind of the meaning of it. So you can connect with companies and such all over the world. We're actually this weekend hosting our Skull Canada board executives. So all of the board executives from across Canada are coming here to Fox Harbor this weekend, where they discuss, all of the issues and situations that are happening in the tourism industry and how to make it better. So it's a great organization. We do have a student program. So we have our Young Skull program, which any student can join and come and meet GMs of hotels, owners of tour companies, such like us, who can really help you out through things. And I think it's only $40 a year for the membership, plus your lunch or dinner, which are $70 for dinner and $40 for lunch. We'll see if that changes for the next month, but it's a great program to be able to get to know a lot of the who's who of the tourism industry.
And if students wanted to be part of this, what would be the best way to find information on it?
Yeah, so you can take a look at the website. So just look up Skull Halifax or Skull International, which is SKAL. It's actually pronounced Skull, so it means cheers in I think it's Norwegian, Swedish, Norwich, I think. But that's, SKAL. Look it up, and they'll give you information. Right in Young Skull, and that'll give you even more information. And if you want to know even more, you can certainly contact me.
So if we have any more questions from the audience?
Thank you.
So thanks for asking the questions about Skull. That was certainly one I had on my list. But we also have a couple of people here who've opened their own businesses. So can you tell us a little bit about the preparation involved beforehand and the excitement and energy that you have on that first day, and a little bit about what that's like?
Yeah, so first you have to have a really good idea of what you want your business to be and why you're opening that business. And it's kind of helpful to write down your why and revisit it sometimes. And then you'll start on the sort of, can be long depending on your business proposal, but the process of creating a business plan. So the business plan is really for banks to convince them to give you money. Often you do need to invest as well. Typically, I think it is around 10% of the amount of the loan you're asking for. I don't know if that varies, or it probably varies depending on the type of funding you're after. And there's also lots of organizations like BDC in the seed program to go through to get funding as well. They'll often look at your proposal or your business plan and either give you feedback if they need more details about, typically what they're most interested in is what your cash flow is going to look like. So often they'll have questions about, the way your business is going to be set up, and, are you a reliable candidate to fund? So once you lock in your funding, and it can be from different sources, it doesn't have to all be from one place. Then you get into, getting your contractors lined up. Typically, you have to have a space if you're going to have a brick and mortar or, a physical location. You have to have a space lined up. It's kind of a battle of chicken and egg, where the space wants you to have the funding locked in and the funding wants you to have a space locked in. So there's often a lot of back and forth to sort of prove yourself that you're a reliable candidate. For us, creating our business plan the first time around took about a year. Then the build out for our space, which was just under 12,000 square feet, 1,200 square feet, sorry, took about 8 months, and then we were open for business, I think, about a year after we started our business plan. The second time around expanding, you already have some credibility because you had a business model that hopefully worked, and that's why you're going to expand. So they're often more willing to give you more money. That's why it is often smart to start small, sort of get a feel. You're going to learn a lot, and then plan to expand, which is sort of what we did. And that one, the business plan took us less time because we had experience putting one together, and we sort of knew what funders wanted to look at. And the build out took a lot longer, especially building throughout COVID. Our renovations took over a year, and there were many surprises that ended up leading us having to go back to ask for more money, which is also a really big challenge, because when you ask for money, they want to trust that you know what you need. So when you have to go back again, you really have to convince them that this is truly the last time you're coming back for money. So yeah, building in an old space also has its challenges. Yeah, you learn a lot. You learn a lot. I can't remember if there's more to your question.
Can you repeat the question?
So I'm just interested in the process that you went through to start your businesses and just sort of what it was like to actually see it through to fruition.
Yeah, so for me, it's a little bit different being a tour operator. I have commitment issues, and so I don't think I could ever have a brick and mortar business. That scares me, having to have a physical location. So with being a tour operator, it's mostly markup business. I'm working with suppliers and picking the people, picking the chef. We found a location that we wanted to rent out for a weekend. We found partners who own snowmobiles and all the gear, and that can handle the insurance liability on that side of things. So really, I want to be a host and create a beautiful experience for people. And so packaging that all together was the whole idea, and then making a slight markup on that for myself and my partner. So really the idea has been conceptualizing for 4 years since I started doing Atlantic tours. One of the courses that I took here had us building a business plan, and that was the business plan that I was building, dreaming of years down the road, owning my own company. And doing Marguerite Weekends is just one small portion of that. Eventually I hope to be a year-round business, doing different types of tours in the spring and the summer and the fall. But right now I started with winter, where my full-time job keeps me busy in the summer, and then there's a little bit of breathing room to do this in the winter time. So I had already built that business plan years prior and fine-tuned it with my partner. And we also snowmobile, so that's where the idea came. And there isn't a lot of opportunity up there for people to snowmobile. It's kind of like a well-kept secret. There's 1,000 kilometers of trails, but there isn't. Cape Breton, like other areas of Nova Scotia, it kind of shuts down in the winter time. So if you want to go, there aren't restaurants aren't open, and it's hard to find accommodations. And so by coming up with the idea to package it all together so that people can just arrive from Halifax and come up there, it just seemed like a good idea. And so like I said, the challenge was the marketing. How do we tell people about this? And first we thought it was just going to be word of mouth and to friends. And I built a little flyer, brochure, I guess you could say, on Canva. And then because I was scared to build a website, and my friend showed me it's very easy actually to build a website. And so I went on and did that, and then we just started marketing it. So it was it's a little bit easier, I think, to start up something like that, then I don't have to go through all of the business practices of opening. And it is very small, only 8 people that we can accommodate at a time. But then, yeah, we're going to be doing the same thing next year. So it was just about connecting with those different partners and ensuring that they had a good experience working with us. And we're gearing up to do it again next year.
Thank you. And just one last question, I guess, before we finish up. If you had some advice for students in terms of being purposeful, in terms of, we've talked a lot about networking, but their co-op opportunities and work experience opportunities, is there anything you can share about your own experiences or some advice that you would give to students to kind of help them to build that career path and get them to where they want to be when they graduate?
I would say, which I've kind of said all the way through, don't be afraid to start at the bottom. Getting experience as a dishwasher, as a housekeeper, as a hostess, that's getting your foot in the door. If you don't know anything about the company yet and you need a job, if you go in there and you put your whole heart into it and you're passionate about the job, you're going to get promoted quickly. They're going to see the value in you, and know where you want to go. I had a goal. I wanted to work for Four Seasons Hotels when I finished. I just finished my hotel management diploma, and I went out to Jasper to work for a bit, but I wanted to work for Four Seasons, and I spent 4 years keeping in touch with a contact there, messaging him every 6 months or so, just asking if any opportunities were there and knowing where I wanted to go. And in 4 years, I got that job, but it took 4 years of constant pressure and communication to get there. So don't give up and don't be afraid to start at the bottom.
Sorry, I'm just going to answer Paulette's question first. So for me, where I was sitting in your shoes, and I remember listening to the panelists, and there were a lot of representation from different hotels. And that was a lot of the message, like you're going to have to start out at the bottom and build your way up. And I remember being like, I have a $40,000 loan. I don't know if I'm going to start out being a dishwasher. But my opportunity with Atlantic Tours was quite neat, and it was totally challenging and nerve-wracking. When I took the position, I was like, oh wait, I get motion sickness and I'm terrified of public speaking. What did I just sign up for? But through those challenging experiences, you're going to learn and grow so much. So my advice to you would be to, when those co-op postings come up, like look for something, not that you think you're totally, you fill all the credentials for, but something that scares you, something that you're like, I could learn a lot and grow a lot if I take this on. And so for me, that was my own personal experience, maybe not the path for everyone, but through that opportunity, I really grew as a tourism professional, and it was great money for a co-op. So a very different experience than I'm sure a lot of students had. So yeah, just go out and take the risk and put yourself out there, because like Jen already mentioned, there are a lot of jobs right now and a lot of positions to fill. It's seemingly half the workforce just evaporated through the pandemic. So maybe an entry level position, but maybe not. Maybe you can, go out, and it's worth applying for jobs that you don't think you're quite qualified for anyways, because it's not necessarily just your resume, it's the people. You can get trained and to learn different skills. And so they're looking for good people. And yeah, so put yourself out there.
Also, even if you are starting lower than you'd like to, there's always opportunities. I started in serving. I was serving throughout university, and that's how I met my business partner. It's how I got my design job. So really it gives you a chance to sort of network on the job, which is kind of nice. And yeah, it gives you the opportunity to always like keep an ear open for other opportunities.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. That's all the time we have for questions today. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And just a reminder to all the students, if you haven't had a chance to sign the sign-in form to confirm that you're here today, please find Paulette. And also don't forget to fill out the Moodle Learning Passport survey so that you get credit for attending this event. You must do that within 2 days of right now. Thank you.